Friends, today we are going to tell you about a case file that will leave you shocked. This case not only shook all of Sri Lanka, but also forced the entire world to think. How long will such atrocities against girls continue? Can girls no longer go to school alone? Do parents now have to stop educating their daughters? Are girls not safe anywhere? This is the story of Vithiya, who was brutally murdered by 8 men. But what was Vithiya's fault? Why did these people target her? And why did the police refuse to help Vithiya's parents? If you want to know the answers to these questions, stay with us until the end of the video. Friends, this case file begins in the 1990s in Sri Lanka, a time when a war created so much fear in people's hearts that they constantly wondered whether they would live to see the next day. Death had become a daily occurrence, and people were wandering from place to place in search of safety. They had neither a permanent home nor food to eat. Near the war zone, there was a community that could no longer survive in that area due to the conflict. Their survival had become impossible, forcing them to flee to other regions. Among them was a family where, on November 25, 1996, a beautiful baby girl was born. Her parents lovingly named her Vithiya Sivaloganathan. From a young age, Vithiya faced many hardships. Her family had no permanent home and had to constantly move from one place to another. Each time they arrived in a new area, they first assessed whether they could survive there, whether they would have access to basic necessities like food and shelter. If they found a place suitable, they settled temporarily. Yes, these people could stay here peacefully, and there was no threat to their lives. So they set up tents and began living there. However, after some time, due to unavoidable circumstances, they had to leave this place as well. After that, they would search for a new place and start living there again. From this, you can imagine how many difficulties Vithiya faced at such a young age. As she grew older, her family's concerns also increased. The situation worsened when their entire community, consisting of around 300 people, was captured during the war. They remained war prisoners for almost a year before being released. After their release, Vithiya's father took his family and the entire community to Bangudviti Island and decided to settle there. He believed that their lives would improve now, as they wouldn't have to keep running from one place to another. Additionally, he could now provide a better upbringing for his daughter. With this in mind, he enrolled Vithiya in a nearby school. Vithiya was very intelligent from childhood. She was always engrossed in her books, completing her schoolwork on time and achieving high marks in her exams. This became a routine part of her life. Her parents soon realized that she was exceptionally bright in her studies. The teachers at her school also believed that she was a talented and capable student who would achieve great success in the future. As Vithiya grew older, she started enjoying socializing with new people and interacting with others. Several years passed, and then came the year 2015. Like every year, Vithiya set her daily routine. She would wake up early in the morning, help her mother with household chores, and then get ready for school. However, she never went to school alone. She would first go to her friend's house and then head to school together. Sometimes, if her friend couldn't accompany her for some reason, Vithiya would take her brother along because she didn't like going alone. Then came the fateful day of May 13, 2015. That day, Vithiya had an exam, and she was well prepared. She was confident that, like always, she would pass with good marks. Vithiya aspired to become a capable teacher and work in a good school, which was her dream. She worked hard day and night to achieve it. On the morning of May 13th, Vithiya woke up early, completed the household chores, and left for school. As mentioned earlier, she usually went to school with her friends because her school was about 2 kilometers away. That morning, she went to pick up her friend but found out that she was unwell. She then decided to go with her brother Nishanthan, who usually dropped her off at school on his motorcycle. However, he was out that day. So, at exactly 7:02 a.m., Vithiya left for school alone on her bicycle. Time passed, and the day came to an end. Usually, Vithiya would be home by 3 p.m., but that day she hadn't returned yet. This made her mother, Saraswati, anxious because school ended at 2 p.m. By now, it was already 3 p.m. and there was no sign of Vithiya. If she had extra classes, she would always inform her mother beforehand, but today, she hadn't mentioned anything. Worried, Saraswati called her son, Nishanthan, and asked him to go to the school and check why his sister hadn't returned. Without wasting any time, Nishanthan rushed to the school and inquired with the teachers. To his shock, they told him that Vithiya hadn't come to school that day at all. Hearing this, Nishanthan was stunned because he had seen his sister leave the house in the morning, and it was her exam day. She would never miss it. So where did she go? This question troubled him deeply. Desperate for answers, he asked a family relative who ran a boutique near the school if they had seen Vithiya that day. They too said they hadn't seen her. Now Nishanthan became even more worried. He rushed home and informed his mother, who was equally shocked. When Vithiya's father learned about the situation, he immediately returned from work. The family then began asking the neighbors if they had seen Vithiya, but everyone gave the same response. They hadn't seen her that day. By now, it was around 6 p.m., and there was still no trace of Vithiya. When her parents grew exhausted searching for their daughter, they decided to file a missing person report and went to the Punguduthivu police station. However, instead of helping them, the police started speaking ill about Vithiya, suggesting that she must have run away with her lover. Hearing this, the family was deeply hurt, as the very police meant to protect them were mocking their helplessness rather than assisting them. Later, around 6:30 p.m., Vithiya's family went to the police in Velanai East to file a complaint about her disappearance. However, even by 9 p.m., no officer had accepted their report. Disheartened and exhausted, the family returned home. Since they received no help from the police, they decided to search for Vithiya themselves, along with the villagers. The villagers searched for Vithiya late into the night but found no trace of her. The next morning at around 5 a.m., they resumed their search, this time taking 2 dogs with them to aid in tracking her. As Nishanthan led the dogs about 2.5 kilometers from his house along a deserted road, the dogs suddenly started barking toward a field. When he went closer to check, he found Vithiya's bicycle lying there. A little further away, he also discovered her shoes, which made him panic as he immediately sensed that something terrible had happened to his sister. Fearing what he might find, Nishanthan hesitated but then gathered his courage, took hold of the dog's leashes, and entered the field. There he saw an abandoned house, one that children often spoke of as haunted. Though he found no ghosts inside, what he did see made him scream in horror. Near the house, he discovered Vithiya's lifeless body. She was stripped of her clothes, her hands tied behind her back with her school tie. Her school bag was also lying nearby. Vithiya's face was swollen, showing clear signs that she had been brutally beaten. Even more horrifying, one of her legs had been tied separately from the other. No brother should have to witness his sister in such a state. Nishanthan was devastated but still tried to stay strong for his parents. At 7 a.m., he called the police in Velanai East, but they did not come. Frustrated, he went to the police station himself and reported the entire incident, but the police ignored him completely. Nishanthan stood there for a long time, pleading for help, but when he saw that they refused to take action, he returned home. Later, one of their relatives advised them to contact the police in Colombo, Sri Lanka's largest city, for assistance. However, if we look at it, had the police helped Vithiya's family on time, they wouldn't have lost their daughter. In fact, they had first approached the police to file a missing report for their daughter, but instead of helping, the police mocked them and used inappropriate words. Had the police made efforts to find her in time, her life might have been saved. When this news spread like wildfire across Sri Lanka, exposing how the police had not provided any assistance and were still not taking any action, women across the country united and launched a movement, demanding justice for Vithiya. This case filled the entire nation, especially northern Sri Lanka, with anger. As more people learned about the brutality inflicted on Vithiya, protests intensified. The only thought in everyone's mind was to get justice for Vithiya, and ensure that such an atrocity never happened to any other girl. On May 14, 2015, a protest was organized in Punggudutivu, where all school students participated. Additionally, residents of the island created chaos on the streets by burning wood and tires. Students at Kilinochchi, Mulativu, and Jaffna University also carried out massive protests. Following this, the police were compelled to take action. On May 15, 2015, they arrested 3 brothers aged between 30 and 40 who were involved in this horrific crime. These 3 had long-standing disputes with Vithiya's family and sought revenge by making her their target. According to the police, these 3 kidnapped Vithiya on the morning of May 13, 2015, while she was on her way to school. They took her to the jungle, where they assaulted her and then mercilessly killed her. After questioning the suspects, the police discovered that 5 more individuals were involved in the crime, making it a total of 8 perpetrators. Without delay, the police expanded their investigation and arrested these 5 suspects on May 17th. These 5 were residents of Colombo who had come to Punggudutivu solely to kill Vithiya, or rather, they had been summoned by the 3 brothers. These 8 criminals kidnapped Vithiya, assaulted her one by one, and when they were done, they brutally murdered her. After committing the crime, the 5 perpetrators returned to Colombo. Shockingly, on the day of Vithiya's funeral, these criminals attended the ceremony to avoid suspicion. However, after the funeral, when they attempted to return to Colombo, the police arrested them. Additionally, on May 18th, the police arrested another suspect, Mahalingam Shashi Kumar, also known as Swiss Kumar. He was accused of filming the crime while others were assaulting Vithiya. When the villagers spotted him in Punggudutivu, they immediately caught him, tied him to a tree, and beat him severely. Later, the police took him into custody and admitted him to Jaffna Hospital. However, he escaped to Colombo and attempted to flee to Switzerland. And so Vithiya finally got justice. So friends, what do you think? Was this punishment enough for Vithiya's killers or not? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you don't miss our upcoming videos. See you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye. Take care.